بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We continue with the reading from the 40 principles of the religion, the adapted summary of Ihya Ulum al-Din Al-Arba'in fi Usul al-Din, which Imam Al-Ghazali permitted circulating, publishing, if you will, separately from Jawah al-Quran, the Jews of the Quran. And we have had our reading. We have read the foreword, the translator's introduction, the foreword by Sheikh Manjera, Jazakallah khairan, the notes, the introduction of the translator of Nasr Abdul Salam, Barakallah fi. And then we started reading the principles themselves. Of course, after reading also Imam Al-Ghazali's introduction, we have dealt thus far with the that, the divine essence, and the second principle, transcendence, at-taqdis. And today, inshallah, we'll read life and power. And let's read about the al-qudra. It's rather it's about life and power, as said, and it's rather short. I will read the Arabic, and then I will read the English, and comment, of course, in English. الأصل الثالث في الحياة والقدرة وأنه حي قادر جبار قاهر لا يعتريه قصور ولا عجز سبحانه، ولا تأخذ سنة ولا نوم، ولا يعرض فناء ولا موت، وأنه ذو الملك والملكوت والعزة والجبروت، له السلطان والقهر والخلق والأمر، والسماوات مطويات بيمينه، والخلائق مقهورون في قبضته، وأنه المتفرد بالخلق والاختراع، المتوحد بالإيجاد والإبداع، خلق الخلق وأعمالهم، وقدر أرزاقهم وأجالهم، لا يشذ عن قبضته مقدور، ولا يعزب عن قدرته تصاريف الأمور، لا تحصى مقدوراته ولا تتناهى معلوماته. So the third principle, life and power. He is living, omnipotent, overpowering, overwhelming. He is not affected with inability or incapacity, not beset with fatigue or sleep, and not affected by annihilation or death. So we stop here and try to comment on these. In fact, the living, al-hayy, as in Surah Al-Furqan, وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلى الْحَيِّ الَّذِي لَا يَمُوتُ. And in Ayat al-Kursi, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayy al-qayyum. And لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. So, لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم is really Quranic, not beset with fatigue or sleep. And we know very well that in Genesis, for comparison, in Genesis 2, 1 to 3, and we will go back and forth between the Quranic narrative, since we talk about the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having perfect ability, perfect power, perfect in the sense of it negates really the notion of fatigue or sleep or slumber. Or so in Genesis, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work he had done. So God blessed the seventh day, talking about the Shabbat, and made it holy, because on it God rested. So this is the second time from all his work that he had done in creation. If we look at the context of creation, the Quran, of the heavens and the earth, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا فِي 6 أَيَّامٍ وَمَا مَسَّنَا مِن لُغُوبٍ. And we have created the heavens and the earth, and that which is between them, in 6 days, and no slumber, no fatigue befell us. As if, and it is, as if this verse responds to the narrative in Genesis. And we know very well that whenever we have difference between both narratives, the Quran is muhayman, overpowers, overrules. It is practically, this is why sometimes we talk about replacement theology. And in the word of one Jewish scholar, she said that the Quran is corrective. I mean, she knew that the Quran corrects the whatever unaccepted narratives. This is really the nature of the Quran once it comes to the there are things that remain the same, but these previous revelations suffered from the vagaries of transmission and other distortions over millennia. But the issue is very clear. He is the living, because the universe, it is his creation, and at one point there was nothing living except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when he created life, he created this universe, and he created life in this universe. Both meaning the universe and this life is marked by the most important adjective, if you will, that it is temporary. I think this really would have it's very profound. If we could attach it to everything that we have, how many things quote unquote died, meaning it became dysfunctional, it was broken. It could be a car that you had, and one day that was it. You cannot really revive it anymore. A TV that was broken, a glass that was broken, a tree that died, a flower bed that is, whatever is the case. And people die, and animals die, and stars are dying. And we talk about black holes that decimate, that rip these stars, these suns apart to the degree that ultimately nothing escapes, not even light. And this is where the knowledge of the black holes, came from. Everything except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even when we enjoy being alive. We are not the living. The living Al-Hayy is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because uh, everything else is temporary. And there are no shortcomings. There is perfection in the universe. We talk about uh, trillions of galaxies, and within these each galaxy talk about between 200 and 400 billion uh, stars, and each star has its own system, solar system, and everything is in order in the universe. This is because of the order in the universe. The astrophysicists could calculate the speed of the expansion of the universe, and they could go back to that moment of the Big Bang, that moment of the beginning. At any rate, um, those who are nihilists, because they don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they, for whatever reason, they think that this universe is simply by chance. And I did hear from some of those atheist scholars talking about that, life does not have a meaning. The universe is, they say, the universe is ugly, and the universe is amazing. I mean, I don't know what is it that they talk about. The universe is absolutely amazing, but it's this sense of nihilism that that there is nothing beyond the existence that could be checked in the lab. Empiricism, really, in simple words. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be affected by annihilation or death. Subhanahu. We will, taste, death. It's inevitable. And the big news is that all 8 billion people who exist at the moment, within 100 years or so, very few will pass the 100-year limit, but approximately within a century, the death of 8 billion people. That's the big news. And then he possesses dominion, might, and omnipotence. All power, all force, all creation, and all authority belong to him. We perform that which he enabled us to perform. We have the power as much as he enabled us to have. And our curve, really, our curve is weak beginning as babies, and in general, for most people, there'll be strength during the years of being young. Then the curve starts basically going down, weakness, and that curve is physical strength, and that curve is of mental strength. And the Quran alludes to this. And those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will extends their life to an old age, they will suffer from weakness. Ultimately, if they live long enough, their knowledge will be impaired. I mean, حتى لا يعلم بعد علم شيئا. The heavens are enfolded in his right hand, and all of creation is subjected to the force of his grip. This verse basically reflects the ability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has to be interpreted allegorically. Otherwise, we will be talking, because the universe is physical, and it's absolutely unacceptable to think about a physical grip or a physical hand. And his right hand, the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith said that both of his hands are right. And that's basically a status that's not really, it's not really to say that we have two. It's unthinkable talk about two hands on one side. Absolutely. So the allegorical interpretation is a must, because we have three verses in the Quran, or three mentions of the hand. In one case, we have hand in the singular. Yadullahi fawqa aydihim. The hand of God is above their hands. And this is when people pledge allegiance. But in general, the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above the hands of people. It's the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the guarantor of is a witness. And it shows that as long as people are sincere about their allegiance, and the Prophet ﷺ is very clear. If you basically have allegiance to a we don't talk of superior as a race, but someone who is really superior to you in office, you cannot betray this this relationship. You pledge to assist, and it should be sincere, it should be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether you talk about an emir, you talk about a king, you talk about a president, directly or indirectly, this is really the Muslim scholars of the past would have never accepted a coup d'etat, as long as the prayer, and this is also not to be a reductionist understanding, as long as prayer is established. But here we have singular, Yadullah fawqa aydihim, Yad, biyaday, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam with both hands, and bi'aid, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this universe. And here we have a plural form, and all of these cannot be taken in, none of them, neither the singular nor the dual fuel form, and the plural form. None of them is to be understood as literal. Of course not. He is the sole creator and inventor. Up till now, all those scientists, and they are not only in the thousands, and I mentioned several times in the past, in different contexts, how there is an ongoing, because if you talk about 75 years, many scientists joined this group, and many passed away, and many others uh, joined at different stages. The aim of this group is very simple: to create life, to create bio from physics, and thus far, not even one single cell was created. Though compared to lifeless dead matter, we are in a better position. All those who talk about evolution from inanimate objects. So the nature on its own, without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can lead to the evolution of a human being with 100 billion neurons. And this human being with 100 billion neurons cannot create one cell. Isn't that really ironic? When we say people are creative, people invent, we are acting upon that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already created. It's just like our role is secondary. In the story of the Qarnayn, when he passed by those primitive people who almost could not understand anything, but they had a problem with Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and they wanted him to erect a barrier between them and Ya'juj and Ma'juj. He asked him to bring him iron ore, and he asked them to help, though they were not that basically civilized, did not have the know-how. Fire, melting, adding. There are different three at least possibilities about what was added. One of them is copper. The other is lead, and the contemporary scholars who understand the notion of steel, they said it is carbon. But at any rate, but he was acting upon that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he created already, which is fine, and really this is commendable. But we should always invent that which is beneficial, never that which is destructive. The only one capable of bringing things into existence, which is extremely important, because if it were not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would not exist. If it were not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how could you basically explain? On the one hand, you say at one moment there was nothing, and in another moment, of course, the moment even is a metaphor, because there was no before the Big Bang in terms of time and space, and then out of a sudden you have this universe expanding at rapid speed. So there was nothing, and then immediately there was something. And this is pretty much the notion of ex nihilo. Ex nihilo is simply, really, because we don't understand. It's the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's really what it is. It's the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He commands something to be, and it will be. And this is kun fayakun. And this is why the scholar said that existence took place between the kaf and the Nun, kun, fayakun, kun. As if basically there is no time between one letter and the other. It is a nice way simply of explaining that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is omnipotent. And this is exactly when we talk about the notion of ex nihilo. Let me say that in the story of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show him how he quickens, how he revives the dead. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed him to take 4 bears and to distribute each part on a mountain. And then he was instructed, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, to call them, and they will come to him walking. And of course, the Quran would not say that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam took these bears and with such feathers or whatever. Simply, that's it. It meant that really Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam did what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to do. But did really Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, and did he really understand how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how كيف تحيي الموتى? He wanted to see for himself. He did see these bears coming back to life, but he does not know how. He's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we say ex nihilo because really, there's we don't understand the power of the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the creation. He created the creation and their actions. And this is really an important notion in the sense of, as human beings, we have the acquisition principles, as the Ash'arites would explain. And determine their provision and their lifespans, all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But because you don't know, we know the lifespan, because you don't know the provision, you basically act in this life, you acquire, you basically have the intention, and you are rewarded for the intention. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates things for you. He creates you and creates your action. Nothing imaginable is outside of his grasp, subhanahu. And the realization of any matter cannot escape his power. ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسي السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. So we understood now basically that the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect, unlimited, no shortcomings, and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's beyond our grasp, but everything in the universe is within basically the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rules over this universe. Nothing escapes his power. Nothing takes place in this universe, against the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permits things to take place. He is living, omnipotent, overpowering, and overwhelming. He is not afflicted with inability or incapacity, not beset with fatigue or sleep, and not affected by any annihilation or death. He possesses dominion. And in fact, I would end by saying something that I would bring rather from a different discussion. When Imam Al-Ghazali speaks about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being just in the absolute sense, he said, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not encounter, because what's injustice? It is behaving, brother, misbehaving or messing with the property or the life of somebody else. And Imam Ghazali says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not encounter property or dominion of anyone else, because everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why it is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to act unjustly. But it's really about the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and no one else has power. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.